where it's the more people the better. Like, I'm an extreme extrovert. Like, if I could live in the mountains all the time, if aspects of life were really emotional, I just kind of like cut it off, said, hey, now just being able to actually process that has been enabling me the ability to be able to meet more people where they are emotionally. And we're back for another episode of Welcome to the Medins. Man, it's a little lonely around here tonight. But the reason being that all the moms are off celebrating Deborah right now for the bachelorette party, so it's pretty much just a guys' weekend. Very enjoyable, but we have all the kids. Right now it's after bedtime, so they're all down sleeping. And just kind of me hanging out around the house right now. So I thought, hey, why not? Have some time. Probably be good to process some more things, kind of get them out there, and see where things go. By the time that this episode comes out, Deborah will be getting married tomorrow. And I'm hoping to get some footage of her wedding, so I'm very excited about that. Man, how life is flying. I've been looking at just how every day seems to just fly by. And I remember being a kid when I don't know why, but every day took forever to happen. And you'd be like, when is it gonna be Saturday? I can wake up and watch my morning cartoons. When is that sleepover at my friend's house? Oh, that's in 2 days. That's gonna take forever. But now it just feels like I honestly wake up and then maybe an hour later and I am getting ready for bed. And how all that time just flies in like a blink of an eye is crazy. I mean, already at the moment that I'm filming this, we're in June. And before you know it, I'm going to be putting out all the social media posts for the release of this episode in July. And that'll happen in no time at all. Like, honestly, it's going to feel like I blink here and then all of a sudden I wake up and it's going to be the day before my youngest sister gets married. But right now, right before this, I was helping her groom-to-be, actually, move a couch that they just got for their apartment. So that was kind of fun. But there's just little things coming in here and there that are making that more and more of a reality, which is fun. I love weddings. I'm a social butterfly, so the opportunity to be able to meet with people and hang out is like my absolute ideal of fun, where it's the more people the better. Like, I'm an extreme extrovert where I get so energized by the more people that are there. I love getting to make people laugh, just hanging out, talking, hearing their stories, figuring out what's going on in their lives, catching up, whatever the relationship status may be between me and them, whether it's a complete stranger, it's a friend, it's an acquaintance, a family friend, a family member I haven't seen in a long time. I am so looking forward to like that whole kind of weekend ordeal of the day before, because there's a lot of people here with friends that are coming from out of town, family coming from out of town, and then like the whole groom's dinner thing, and then the whole day the next day that I am not looking forward to after all is said and done. Because this time at this wedding, I actually get to like hang out and socialize with people, whereas at like Mikhail's and my wedding, like it is about the bride and the groom, but you don't really get to socialize with people, which is a little bit of a bummer. But at Deborah's wedding, like, yeah, I'll have a few responsibilities here and there, but I'm just part of the wedding party, so I'm pretty much free to do what I want except for being there for pictures and speeches and stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think I might have to help tear down at the end of the day. Who knows? something that I really appreciate that Deborah was doing was for any of the siblings that have kids, they're allowed to have an extra person come, and that extra person is there to watch the kids. So that way the siblings and their spouse can actually partake in like the I can't think of the festivities of the wedding. And so that's something else I'm really looking forward to is yes, I get to have my family there, but I also get to like have the freedom to hang out and talk to people. Man. And then after that, it's kind of a settling down period of time. And then my family and I will go on a vacation out to the Black Hills. So I'm looking forward to that, getting more towards the mountains. Again, I miss the mountains so much. Like, if I could live in the mountains all the time and still be surrounded by my family and my close friends, I would. Like, pick them all up, move them with me out to the mountains, and we all start a life there. I think that'd be awesome. So, for any of my family members listening, I think we should consider doing that. For my close friends listening, I really think that you should consider doing that. And then for anyone else who wants to join us, you should consider coming out and joining us and moving out into the mountains. Now, I posted a little while back that some of us are moving to the Black Hills. It's the parents, actually, mom and dad are moving out there. Want just a little bit of a change of scenery, but there's a lot of things going on, a lot of traveling, a lot of different stuff. So they more so did it as like a means to be able to enable us to have like a free vacation spot, which is really nice because anytime you travel anywhere, you're always having to think about the cost of stay, of course, the cost of travel, the cost of eating out, road trip snacks, which is a big cost for me, and all like the activities and things. So it's nice to eliminate that extra cost, especially out in a place that is as beautiful as the Black Hills. And then only 6 hours away versus 13 is Colorado. And then you have Wyoming and Montana that aren't too terribly far away either. I just drove through the Badlands, which is what some of that video footage was, with my dad and my boys, and I really enjoyed being out there as well. So man, thinking about the beauty of nature in that part of America. Like, that is some awesome design there. But I want to spend so much more time out there. And with the freedom that Mikla and I have been able Mikla, that's why I call my wife, her name is Michaela. I realize I don't explain that to a lot of people. But that's now kind of moved to how I've pronounced her name. It's kind of cute, I like to think. But also just rolls off the tongue a lot easier for me saying Mikola versus Michaela. Anyway, so with the freedom that my wife and I have been able to have with this kind of change of pace of life, that we've been doing quite a bit of traveling, and being able to spend more time out in the mountains has been a huge thing for me. Because again, like I said, if I could live out there, I would. But my wife and I love being with her family. I love her parents love me. She loves my parents, they love her. And of course, all the siblings involved on both sides. So it's just hard to like kind of imagine picking up and leaving. We would if the Lord called us to go somewhere different. We definitely would, but it would be a very hard change of pace and process to move away for an extended period of time from them, because we're here with my family throughout the week, and then we're always with her family, or most often with her family on the weekend. And that's just because family means so much to us, and especially to like our kids that have such special and adorable relationships with the grandparents. Like, for them to be able to spend such a regular amount of time with them is really important, and my wife and I wanted our kids to be able to have that because that's what I grew up with, and to see how that positively impacted myself and my siblings was pretty big. And it was almost like having a second set of eyes for me growing up, because I lived with my parents, of course, and then our grandparents. And just having that multi generational influence in training us, I think really helped us to mature quickly in a positive way, because we had some more traditional, um, classic type raising, along with kind of how my parents had adjusted and their own family parenting culture that they had made when they became their own family too. But then always had that really good mix of both. So I spent a lot of time with all my siblings, and I spent a lot of time with my grandparents on my dad's side growing up. And grandma was a huge part of making sure that we were going to church, going to youth group, going to Sunday school, and even then they would take us to conferences around the U.S. to get exposure to ministry there as well. They were always taking anywhere between like 3 to 5 of us at a time. Um, and so to see that influence come in and shape us into who we are, who you all know us as, my wife and I want to have that same impact with the additional influence of great grandparents as well. So now, even one generation more than what I grew up with, handing that influence. And then you see that influence positively impacting them too. So, being in a multi generational home has been such an important thing. And I think that's also why it's hard to imagine ever moving away. Um, even if the Lord called us to do so, because knowing how that being in that multi-generational home impacted me, and my wife was close with all of her grandparents as well and saw them on a pretty regular basis. We don't want to take our kids away from that, because there's a lot to learn, there's a lot to develop in, of course, these formative years of being so young and so little. And then actually, by the time this episode comes out, Michaela and I would have just had, uh, days before, our 5th baby. And so we want everyone to get to know our little girl too, and not wanting to take her away from getting to have that experience that her older siblings have had. And like I said, they've developed some really adorable relationships. My boys call my grandpa, David Medin, they call him Grandpa Clark. And I'm not quite sure where that nickname came from, but one day our second twin started calling him Clark, and like Clarky and stuff. And it just kind of stuck. And what was really cute was tonight, as we were getting ready to have just kind of a man night, of pizza and boneless wings and popcorn, watching a movie, our oldest twin came down and said to the younger one, said, "Hey, guess who I saw upstairs?" And he was like, "Who?" And the older one was like, "I saw Grandpa Clark." And he's like, "Ooh." So there's such that special relationship there. But now, also I suppose, with my parents moving out to South Dakota, and it's not for an indefinite amount of time, which is nice. I think it's only for like a year, possibly 2. I think spending more time with like their great grandparents is gonna be even more important. And then making some very purposeful trips out to the Black Hills to spend time with my parents, since they're gonna get to see my wife's parents still pretty regularly, is gonna be a big thing. There's just a lot of change coming up, and I'm really trying to work on processing that, like the emotional side of that. And change in itself isn't necessarily bad. It's just so hard, or can be so hard to make that adjustment when this, like, already I've dealt with a lot of changes over the years. Like, obviously, siblings getting married and making their own families and moving out and stuff. But like the youngest getting married kind of feels like, okay, the I'm 30, but like it almost feels like the childhood portion of my life is now like done. And then right after that change, um my parents moving out to South Dakota, and so it's just like a lot in a short amount of time. But I'm like pretty excited because like I like change, but it's still uncomfortable even though I like it. It's scary even though I look forward to it. I dread it, but I want it, that it's just in that weird emotional mixture of space. But trying to process all sorts of the emotional side of that. I used to, and I've mentioned this in prior episodes, it's just like if aspects of life were really emotional, I just kind of like cut it off, said, hey, ain't nobody got time for that. I got to move on with whatever the deal is, whether it be college and finishing my degree or work stuff or band stuff, whatever it may be. I apologize for burping a few times. I made, when my family lived in Switzerland, we got exposed to this thing called apple Shirley, which is just sparkling apple juice. So I made like my own home version with some Aldi sparkling water and then some apple juice. And it's pretty good, but it's been making me have to burp. Anyway, trying to process a lot more like the emotional side of this and taking the time to actually sit down and be like, okay, what am I feeling about this? Like, I feel nervousness. Um, some aspects, I feel some fear in the unfamiliarity or the unfamiliarity or whatever. And then, like, excitement, like hesitant excitement. Because a lot of it is just so unknown. Um, I'm just kind of taking you guys through how my brain is thinking about things. I was recently praying with a friend of mine who is in a similar life situation. We were asking the Lord for some work. All of a sudden, I was scrolling through the Instas and I saw a video that said, hey, need a videographer in Lakeville. If you're interested, please, message this account, whatever. So I did. Usually I don't do that sort of thing. Just for like security reasons in terms of you never know like malware and stuff like that. But this seemed a little bit different, so I did. Long story short, I ended up getting a video contract job the next day for a wellness center up in Lakeville. Got to spend the day doing video, shooting video for their office. That was really fun because it was like we asked for work. My friend and I asked for work, and got immediately answered. Gave me the videography gig, and then actually gave him a photography gig. And it's like, whoa, like God was just answering like that. And so seeing and asking God, like, Lord, thank you so much for all this free time I'm getting, but I need stepping stones so I know like kind of where to go, where I need to take the next step and develop the next skill, whatever. And asking for that. So to see him then answer that so quick was really nice. And seeing how God is doing that more in like this odd space of life that my family and I are in was really comforting, but still in that not 100% guaranteed every day sort of work more than the other things I'm involved in, like the business of my dad, the veteran organization, Base Camp Hope, encourage you to check them out. I'll throw a link in the description. Our church, Breakthrough, welcome to the Medins. Looking at doing some drum lessons here in town as well, and filling in all these other little spaces. Like, I stay pretty busy, but like none of it is really paying. But somehow I end up getting involved with him in a way that seemed like it was ordained by the Lord and his orchestration of life. That it's like, God, I'm in this weird space, and now on top of like this ambiguous space I'm in, I'm about to experience this huge change, very exciting change with Deborah and Ethan getting married, but then our parents moving out to South Dakota. Just like there's so much change, but it feels like something exciting is coming about. I have zero ideas to what's really going on. How does this all play into the bigger picture of Michaela's and our kids' lives? How does this play into the bigger picture of my siblings and her siblings and our parents and her parents? There's just so much stuff I can't account for, and I don't understand, and I don't know. That in the process of trying to deal with and spend time going through my emotions without letting them take over, I've realized I've felt quite a bit of anxiety about things. And only once has been to like the point where I've really just had to sit down. Like, I sat down on our staircase when there was no family foot traffic going through, and just like, okay. And I've realized too that I've kind of at times been on like the very verge of depression, but not wanting to give into that because I knew that wasn't going to help my family, nor would it really help me and what it is that I'm supposed to do. So I realized that feeling was coming, and in the process I just said, you know what, God, all these thoughts are not from you, so I'm just going to give them over to you. And it was honestly like a weight came off my shoulders, and it wasn't like necessarily a physical weight, but just like an emotional and spiritual weight just kind of came off, and I've been able to keep going forward in the different times when I've been nervous, anxious, sad, even sometimes a little bit aggravated about things. But what's also been nice, I've been able to process a lot more joy too. Um, like experiencing little victories here with Welcome to the Medins, or uh, someone buying me coffee out of the blue and just saying, hey, do you want to go get a coffee today? Yes, please. That is one of my favorite things. Been able to process that, and like the joy and how much that means to me too. And so despite like processing emotions, thinking that it's just like the negative ones, I've been able to process the positive ones too, which has been really enjoyable, and opening up kind of my overall expressiveness to my family, because I want my kids to be expressive. I want my wife to be expressive. And I know I'm going to meet other people who want to be expressive and maybe can't, so I need to help them through that. But also people who just are expressive. And sometimes, you meet those people who are like super expressive, like, oh, slow down there. I'm not really emotionally prepared for that at the moment. Like, I can take more of that in now and not get so overwhelmed by someone who's overjoyed, or someone who is very angry or super sad about something. Like, I've been finding I can meet a lot more people where they're at, and that's been really nice. And all of these different circumstances in life, from the ambiguous job front to the change of family environment and everyone's availability, growing up and like being surrounded by my siblings all the time, not having that constantly, like now just being able to actually process that has been enabling me the ability to be able to meet more people where they are emotionally, and be able to understand, versus just be like, yeah, don't waste your time on that, dude. Just like slap a smile on your face and get over it. Like, no one actually really wants to hear that, and that was kind of hard for me to understand, Because I was just like, well, if you know that ain't good, then why waste your time on it? Just get to what is good. But then having to figure out that in order to healthfully get to what is good, you need to figure out why what is bad was bad. Get rid of the lies around that, which is a whole process, in order to be able to see what is really good and see how to stay in what's really good, because you saw what was really bad and how it was so bad, what was behind making it so bad, and how to not necessarily avoid it, but just say, hey, you know what? You don't rule me. And that feels better. All of us are going through life. And life is super busy. And I just had a doctor's appointment yesterday. I don't generally like doctor's appointments. I had one. And they had to take my blood pressure 3 times. First time I was super anxious because I don't like going to the doctors. So it was up really high. Second time it was lower. But after the doctor talked to me, he said it wasn't that good. So he felt like he should probably take it one more time. And he did. And at that point he said, oh, now this is a healthy blood pressure for someone your age. 30. Not that old. Life is so busy that we need to let ourselves sit back and decompress. It's so hard. It's so hard. I got so many. I got kids. I have kids. I got my job and all this stuff. I have more projects. All these different things, and like all I can really do is like maybe to get them sleep. Slow down. Take a minute. I think you can figure out 5-10 minutes of your day, and then just sit down and go like this. Calm down. With a calmer mind, you'll be able to process and see all the different things you have going on and start finding ways through them. Start finding solutions to the problems. And be able to work your way through. I have to do that more too. So, here's my commitment to you that I will. And thanks also to the listeners for being willing to just let me talk. It really helps me a lot. So if there's questions you guys have, it's a lot easier to like talk if I'm answering questions. So you got questions, things you're dealing with, maybe like feel free to ask in the comments or DM us or whatever through subscribing to our YouTube page and commenting there, or following us on Instagram and commenting there, or DMing us, or liking us on Facebook and commenting there, or messaging us there. And ask, and I'll be happy to talk through my thoughts there. And again, a lot of it will be my opinion and my own ideas on things, how I find in scripture the answers are there. But then we can at least get the conversation going. You'll get a different viewpoint than what you had before. And we can just keep growing together. Which is what this is for. A clean source of entertainment. A way to process and grow together. And a place for you to be able to see how someone living everyday life can get through things, hard things, celebrate easy things. And just do life with you. And just know that you aren't alone. Even if we don't really know each other, like comments, whatever, we can interact and have Welcome to Medins be a process of welcoming you in here to our family if you need a family, and go through life together. So, just thank you. Thank you so much for letting me have this episode with you. I really appreciate it. And after you subscribe, follow, and like all of our pages, I'm just looking forward to seeing you next time on Welcome to the Medins.